November 10, 1985. Allenstown, New Hampshire. A hunter is walking through Bear Brook State Park. It's late fall. The leaves are gone. The ground is wet. And the woods are quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you hear your own breathing. He's tracking deer when something catches his eye. Off the trail, half buried in the brush, there's a steel drum. Dark blue. 55 gallons. Industrial. The kind you'd see at a factory or a construction site. Not in the middle of the woods. He walks over. He notices the lid is loose. The barrel is heavy, too heavy for an empty drum. And then he smells it. He calls the police. When officers arrive and pry open that barrel, they find two bodies, an adult woman and a young girl, both wrapped in plastic bags, both partially skeletonized. Both had been beaten to death. A mother and child, stuffed inside a steel drum like industrial waste, and left in the woods of New Hampshire. No one knew who they were. And for the next 40 years, the woods of Bear Brook would refuse to give up their secrets. This is a 3-part series. And I promise you, what's inside that second barrel is worse. Subscribe to Faceless Justice right now so you don't miss parts 2 and 3. The Allenstown Police Department had never seen anything like this. They processed the scene. They photographed the barrel. They cataloged every piece of evidence they could find. The autopsies confirmed what they already suspected. The woman was between 23 and 33 years old, Caucasian with curly brown hair. She'd had significant dental work, fillings, extractions. Somebody had taken care of her teeth at some point. The girl was somewhere between 8 and 10. Light brown wavy hair, a crooked front tooth and a gap between her top teeth. 2 earrings in each ear. Both died from blunt force trauma to the head. Someone had beaten them to death. Detectives ran their descriptions through every database available. Every missing persons report in New Hampshire, then New England, then the entire United States. Nothing matched. Nobody was looking for them. How do a woman and a child die, and no one on earth notices they're gone? With no identification and no leads, the bodies were buried in a local cemetery. The town donated a gravestone. It read, "Here lies the mortal remains known only to God of a woman aged 23 to 33 and a girl child aged 8 to 10. Their slain bodies were found on November 10, 1985, in Bear Brook State Park. May their souls find peace in God's loving care." No names, no flowers, no family. Just a prayer to a God that, at the time, seemed to be the only one who knew who they were. A woman and a child buried with no name. If you think they deserved better, subscribe to Faceless Justice. This channel exists to tell the stories of people the world tried to forget. The case went cold. Immediately. Every lead went nowhere. No witnesses. No DNA technology capable of helping in 1985. No family members calling to ask about a missing mother and daughter. 1986 passed. 1990, 1995. New detectives rotated in and out. Each one reviewed the file. Each one hit the same wall. And each one put it back in the drawer. But here's the thing about Bear Brook State Park. The woods don't forget. In 1985, investigators searched the area around the barrel. They combed through brush, mapped the terrain and processed the scene. Then they left. They didn't find anything else. But they missed something. For 15 years, there was a second barrel sitting in those woods. Less than 100 feet from the first one. May 9, 2000. A state investigator is conducting a routine survey near the original crime scene, 15 years after the first barrel was discovered. And there it is. A second 55-gallon steel drum. Same type, same area. Hidden just outside the perimeter of the original search zone. How did they miss it? Investigators later said the second barrel was on private property, just beyond the edge of Bear Brook State Park. It was technically outside the original crime scene boundary. Inside, 2 more bodies. 2 more girls. One was between 2 and 4 years old. Brown hair. An overbite that would have been noticeable. She may have suffered from anemia. The other was even younger. Between 1 and 3. Long blonde or light brown hair. a gap between her front teeth, just like the older girl in the first barrel. Both killed by blunt force trauma. 4 victims, 2 barrels, all female, all beaten to death. A woman and 3 little girls, the oldest no more than 10, the youngest barely able to walk. And now investigators had a new question that made everything more terrifying. Were these girls related to the woman in the first barrel? Was this the same family? 4 bodies, 2 barrels, 0 names, and the DNA results that came back? They made this case 10 times more disturbing. Subscribe to Faceless Justice, because this story is just getting started. By 2014, DNA technology had advanced enough to test the remains. Investigators extracted mitochondrial DNA from all 4 victims and ran comparisons. The results confirmed what they feared. The woman in the first barrel was the biological mother of the oldest girl found with her, and the youngest girl found in the second barrel. A mother and 2 of her daughters, murdered together, stuffed into barrels, dumped in the woods. But here's where it gets strange. The third girl, the 2 to 4-year-old found in the second barrel, was not related to the other 3. She wasn't the woman's daughter. She wasn't the other girl's sister. She shared no maternal DNA with any of them. So who is she? And why was she in that barrel? Investigators ran her DNA against every database available. No matches. But they did discover one thing. Through further testing, they determined that this unrelated child had likely spent most of her short life in either the upper Northeast or the upper Midwest, possibly Wisconsin, not in California, where the other 3 seemed to have connections. This girl came from somewhere else. She was brought here, and she was killed alongside children she had no biological connection to. Why? One child doesn't belong. She's not part of this family. So how did she end up in that barrel? The answer to that question leads to one of the most terrifying serial killers in American history. Subscribe to Faceless Justice. You need to see what comes next. Let me slow down for a second, because I need you to understand something. 4 people were murdered, a mother and 3 little girls, and for decades, nobody came looking for them. Think about that. In a country of 250 million people in 1985, not a single person filed a missing persons report for a woman and 3 children. Their faces were reconstructed by the FBI. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created multiple versions over the years, updated images showing what these girls might have looked like alive. The photos were published in newspapers, broadcast on TV, shared across law enforcement agencies. Nothing. No one recognized them. That means one of 2 things. Either their families didn't know they were missing, or their families were too afraid to come forward. In 2000, after the second barrel was found, Fairfax County, New Hampshire State Police, publicly appealed for information. National media covered the story. America's Most Wanted featured the case. Still nothing. And meanwhile, a man named Bob Evans was already in prison for an unrelated crime. A man who had lived in New Hampshire in the early 1980s. A man who had a habit of making women and children disappear. No one had connected him yet, but they would. Bob Evans. Remember that name, because it's not his real name. And by the time investigators figured out who he actually was, they discovered he'd been killing for decades. Subscribe to Faceless Justice so you're here when I reveal his true identity in Part 2. Let me introduce you to someone. In the early 1980s, a man calling himself Bob Evans was living in Manchester, New Hampshire, just 20 miles from Bear Brook State Park. He had a girlfriend. Her name was Denise Bowden. She was 23. She had a baby daughter named Dawn. They seemed like an ordinary family. In November 1981, right after Thanksgiving, Denise, baby Dawn, and Bob Evans vanished. Denise was never seen again. But Bob Evans? He resurfaced, under a different name. In 1984, a man named Curtis Kimball got a job as an electrician in Los Angeles, California. Fingerprints later confirmed Curtis Kimball was Bob Evans. In 1985, that same man was arrested for drunk driving and child endangerment. He had a little girl with him. He told police her name was Lisa. He said she was his daughter. She wasn't. In 1986, he abandoned Lisa at a trailer park in California and disappeared again. Then he showed up as Gordon Jensen, then Jerry Mockerman, then Lawrence Vanner. 5 names, 5 identities, 1 man. And everywhere he went, women and children vanished. Here's what investigators knew by the early 2000s. They had 4 unidentified murder victims in Bear Brook. They had a missing woman, Denise Bowden, who vanished from a town 20 miles away with a man named Bob Evans. They had a child, Lisa, abandoned in California by a man using a different name who was later confirmed to be Bob Evans. And they had DNA proving that Lisa was not Bob Evans' biological daughter. The pieces were right there, scattered across decades and state lines, but no one had put them together yet. That would change in 2002, when a man calling himself Larry Vanner was arrested in Richmond, California, for the murder of his girlfriend, a chemist named Eunsoon Jun. And the detective who caught him? She wasn't satisfied with just solving one murder. She started digging into Larry Vanner's past, and what she found was a spider web of stolen identities, missing women and dead children, stretching back 30 years. But that detective, and what she uncovered, that's part 2. The detective who pulled on that thread? She unraveled a serial killer's entire life, but it took a genetic genealogist and a librarian to finish the job. That's all coming in part 2. Subscribe to Faceless Justice right now so you don't miss it. Let me leave you with this. Right now, as part 1 ends, here's where we stand. 4 bodies in 2 barrels. A woman and 3 girls, beaten to death and dumped in the woods of New Hampshire. 3 of them are family. 1 of them is a stranger. None of them have names. A man named Bob Evans lived 20 miles away and made his girlfriend and her baby disappear in 1981. Then he vanished, popping up across the country under 5 different identities before being caught for murder in 2002. But here's what I haven't told you yet. That little girl he abandoned in California, the one he called Lisa, she grew up. And decades later, she did something that would crack this entire case wide open. She sent her DNA to an ancestry website. And what came back didn't just reveal who she was. It revealed who he was. His real name, his real history, and the trail of bodies he left across America for 30 years. That's part 2. This has been Faceless Justice. Because every victim deserves more than a case number. Justice may be blind, but it never stops watching. Part 2 drops next week. The only way to make sure you see it is to subscribe to Faceless Justice and hit that bell. I'll see you there.